Welcome to Strongbrook Radio, leveling up with today's thought leaders. What you're about to hear are powerful insights, entertaining stories, and life-changing principles from some of the most innovative minds in the world today. This is Strongbrook Radio.
All right, welcome everybody. Stephen Michael Miller here with Strongbrook Radio. So glad to be back here in the saddle again this week. And I'll tell you, this is always a pleasure for me. I get such a unique opportunity in my mind. I get to sit down with amazing individuals who figure solutions out to problems. You know, and one of the things for me is these are oftentimes problems that we've all had, or if we haven't had them yet and we're looking at moving forward as entrepreneurs, or we want to better our lives in whatever way, they may be things that we'll come up against. And so I get an opportunity to sit down and speak with these individuals, have them on the radio show, and just figure out what it is that they did. And, you know, it's always so surprising to me that it's not usually some crazy, huge, you know, catastrophic event necessarily. Sometimes it is, but oftentimes they're just little tiny tweaks. They're things that you and I can implement. The things that if we just followed kind of suit a little bit, followed what they did, we can start to see some of the exact same results. And so I'm so excited today also because I've got a great friend of mine here on the radio show today, someone by the name of Wylene Benson. And Wylene and I have known each other for almost 3 years now. And before I bring her on, I want to go ahead and give her a proper introduction. Wylene Benson is a personal alignment and business coach and has been a successful entrepreneur and business consultant for nearly 30 years. Now, she's also a certified limitless breakthrough coach. She wins the battle against all limits. And Wylene loves serving as a coordinator and regular presenter for the GPS ankle monitor parole program called Prime for Life through Utah County Jail. And with a particular passion for breaking beliefs around addiction. Now, that's huge. She's an author, currently writing her second book, which is called Entrepreneur Ignition, Start Strong, Finish Faster. She's a sought-after speaker, teacher, and private mentor. And Wylene also plays a significant role within Strongbrook here, inspiring our independent business developers as they launch their businesses, many who are entrepreneurs for the first time. So Wylene has a background in network marketing. She as well as being a lifelong entrepreneur herself and playing a key role in helping multiple startup businesses get off the ground. So it's without any further ado, and my definite huge pleasure to introduce Wylene Benson to you. Wylene, are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you, Stephen.
Oh, Wylene, so great to have you here today. I know that you're busy. I know that you're like we said here, writing your book, your second book right now, and that's almost finished. And you do so much for us in so many different ways and so many others. You're out there serving all the time. So it really is a huge honor and pleasure to have you here with us.
Thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Awesome. Hey, well, let's jump into it real quick. Well, you know, actually, before we do, I do like to put people on the spot. And do you have any favorite jokes that you could share?
Oh my gosh, I am not a joke teller. My husband is the joke teller in our family. If you ever get a chance to talk to him and want to hear a really cool joke, if you're open to something that's kind of interesting that might, really take you off guard, ask him how to fold towels.
Okay. All right, we'll do that. Maybe we'll have to have him on now to tell that joke later, or that experience later on. We'll ask him to fold towels.
Sounds good.
Fantastic. Well, hey, let's jump in here. You've got your new book, Entrepreneur Ignition, Start Strong, Finish Faster. It's coming out next month. Very interesting title. Can you give us a little bit of a sneak peek onto what that's about? And also, whether you're an entrepreneur or not, is that something that can work for everybody?
Yeah, actually, that's really interesting that you say that, because that was just the thought that came to me is I wanted to share with you. It is called Entrepreneur Ignition, Start Strong, Finish Faster. And I do have a passion for entrepreneurism and helping people get their businesses off to a good start. And like you mentioned, I'm a personal alignment and business coach. And I call myself that because I feel that I have a real gift in when I talk to people, helping them to be able to find out who they really are inside, what their gifts are, what their talents are, where they're going to be able to really inspire humanity. And I help them turn that around into a business, help them be able to monetize that. And so this book that I'm writing is really, focused on helping people get a business started and being successful that way. But the principles that are in the book can be used in all areas. Just a real quick sneak peek into it. At the very beginning of the book, probably a good portion of that first part is dedicated to this, what I call the leap of faith. And when somebody is in a place, maybe they're working as an employee, or maybe even they have taken that leap into being an entrepreneur, but they're kind of stuck or they feel a little lost, they're not really sure what the next step is, kind of in the void, a little chaos going on in their lives or whatever, and they don't really know how to get out of that. That's where I feel like I can be of most help, most benefit to people. I have learned over the last few years a lot of principles and a lot of methods to be able to get from that, once you take that leap of faith into kind of the unknown of being an entrepreneur. And I have a lot of principles that I share in the book that help people get through that wilderness, that void, or that unknown, so that you can get to the place where you really envisioned why you wanted to become an entrepreneur to begin with.
I love that. And you hit something there on the head, which I think is important for all of us. We all have certain fears or perceptions of fears even that drive us back or keep us from achieving what it is that we really want to accomplish, whether it's a fear of being an entrepreneur or a fear that people won't want to listen to us or whatever it might be. And I love this idea of taking that leap of faith. Can you talk about maybe a couple things that you have found that are really helpful to encourage people to take that leap of faith?
Yeah, for sure. I actually believe that fear is the first step before that leap of faith is taken, because as we are in this quote unquote comfort zone, it's not usually very comfortable there. In fact, within the Limitless program, we call it the limit zone, which to me describes it a little bit better. And when you're in that, if you can visualize yourself being in this comfort zone and just really seeing it for what it really is. And for a lot of people, that just is kind of a place of mediocrity. And if you really picture having to stay there for the rest of your life and not having the opportunity to leap out of that, that's a pretty fearful thought. And so a lot of times that fear of just staying the same is enough to propel people, to give them the courage to take that leap of faith into that new place, a place where they're the unknown, the place where they really haven't ever been before. And along with that leap of faith, there's two things that I feel that this leap of faith kind of encompasses. And one is that if you can have the faith that you really are as great as you are, if you can visualize that there is this really seed of greatness inside of you and that you really are capable of that, that sometimes is enough to help you take that leap of faith, that maybe you haven't seen it yet, maybe you haven't lived, you haven't been that person yet really, but if you can just believe that that person resides inside of you somewhere. And then the second thing is that if you can have the faith that once you take that leap, that you're going to be given everything you need along the way. You're going to have it, just these little steps given to you on a daily basis, and sometimes a moment-to-moment basis. And as you get into that unknown, these, it feels like fear. There will be some emotions that will come up, anxiety or, frustration or whatever it is, when things come up that we aren't sure really how to handle. But to me, in the book, I describe how those are really gifts. Those are opportunities for us to, this is like the universe tapping us on the shoulder and saying, hey, you're going to need to learn this. You're going to need to have this as a skill before you can actually live in that land of prosperity that you're reaching towards. So just having those two things, faith that you really are awesome, and faith that you're going to be, even if you don't know everything right now, that you're going to be given those steps all along the way.
I love that. Wonderful advice. And I think those are things that any of us can start to implement right away. Wylene, I'd love to dive in personal for just a moment if I could. with you and really open up who is Wylene Benson to our listeners here for just a moment. Can you talk about really kind of what started you on this path? I don't think we all wake up necessarily with the idea of, hey, I want to be a alignment and business coach,
Right.
So can you talk about maybe your process a little bit and how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Gosh, it's hard to tell where it all began, but I know there was kind of a crossroads in my life. It was kind of a turning point or a point, where I could make a point of decision. And I talk about those points of decision in the book as well. And my point of decision came when I had a heart attack, and it's been almost 3 years on February 3rd. And it was a stress-induced heart attack. And when I went in to the emergency room, they called it Takotsubo. It's called broken heart syndrome. And the bottom part of my heart just quit working. And so my heart was only working at 40% of the capacity. And my doctor told me to go home and have no stress, no physical activity for 6 weeks. So I did that. I sat in my front room and let my family, my neighbors, everybody waited on me for 6 weeks. And a lot of people don't ever get a chance to have 6 weeks of just total contemplation. And I can tell you that it was just a really huge gift, just a real blessing for me to be able to take a look at the last 50 years of my life and evaluate where I was right there and where I wanted the rest of my life to go. And so this was an opportunity for me to be kind of at that crossroads at a point of decision.
You just said that, and when you said my last 50 years of life, I almost coughed for a second out of surprise, because I know you very well, and I don't ever see you as someone in their 50s, but it's just
Thank you. I don't either.
little side note there, but you know what? And the other thing that I was thinking is, and not to make light of a situation, but man, what a blessing in disguise to be able to have that kind of time to reflect. And, not that I would ever want to experience what you experienced, but truly, I think this is something that we all need to listen to, because unless we take the time to really think about how we want to engineer our lives, chances are they'll just end up the way that we didn't want them. And so how was that for you?
Well, and a couple things as you were talking, I just was thinking of too, that you said, if we're not conscious. And I really believe that this heart attack happened because I was not conscious. I wasn't consciously working towards finding a life of purpose for myself. In fact, as I was doing that pondering and contemplation, I remember writing, I was journaling. Today I wrote, I've made a half-hearted attempt at finding my purpose. And as soon as I wrote the words, just a huge light bulb went on, and I thought, wow, the universe gave me exactly what I needed. I was only using half of my heart. And so, of course, if I don't need the other half, why even have it working?
Wow.
So it really was the perfect experience for me. And so for our listeners, if you've had some, taps on the shoulder and you know that there's some things that you need, some changes you need to make in your life, take the time, get conscious, and really move forward with doing that, because I believe for me, this was just it was a wake-up call, but it was in the perfect form for me to really draw attention to the peace, within my body, my heart, and seeking for that purpose, and really, finding what filled my heart, what fulfilled me, what energizes me from the inside. And I can happily say that I spend every single day now fully energized and using a full heart towards my purpose and my mission.
Good thing. Now, I know that you're on a constant journey of growth for yourself. And, before your experience happened, this isn't all of a sudden the experience happened and you became a completely different person, because you were, even before, an introspective person, someone who enjoyed growing and wanted to grow. But I know that even more so now, you rely on seeking that daily inspiration. You're looking to that higher source of knowledge. How would you say that has impacted your life?
Well, it is the one thing. If I had to, if everything were taken away from me and I could ask for one thing, it would be that I could, on a daily basis, just go to meditation, go to prayer, listen, ask for higher knowledge, and listen to the answers, because that has been the key. That has been the number one thing that has helped me over the last, 2.5 years to find my mission and calling, and to live a life now that is very fulfilling. And I call it my daily entrepreneur ignition. Now, I actually just coined that phrase this morning.
Awesome. I love it.
So it really does get me going in the morning. It is my GPS. It's my way of knowing what I need to do on a daily basis. And that is to me the number one thing. If I could encourage anybody to do one thing, it would be to take a moment every day and get to that place of pondering and introspection, and asking for higher knowledge of what is the most important thing that I can be doing today.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Again, and this is something that we touched on a little bit earlier, but I think for the majority of our listeners, for majority of people in the world in general, we kind of go about life in a little bit of a haze of fear, meaning we allow the whisperings of our parents that, maybe don't quite coincide with some of our thoughts, dreams, or wishes to get in the way of us becoming who it is that we want to be. And not just our parents, but our school systems, our maybe even our people at our different denominations where we might go to church, or who knows, right? I mean, we get all these different outside influences of people telling us certain things, and a lot of it is how we can't do this or we can't do that, or we don't know enough to get out there and take that risk, whatever it might be. So what suggestions would you give for someone who's kind of living a life of fear, or maybe lacking that purpose for themselves?
The first thing that came to mind as you're talking is that kind of back to that leap of faith, to jump away, to take a leap in any direction, period, I think is better than just being stagnant and staying the same. And again, back to that feeling of having the faith that you really do have a seed of greatness inside of you. And for me, one of the most important things that I did after having some of that introspection and getting to a point where I could actually start exercising again, I hired a personal trainer to help rebuild my heart, to help strengthen my heart, to rebuild my body. And I also hired a mentor to help with my mindset. I had the audacity to believe that a miracle could happen in my life. The doctor had told me that my heart would never get any better, and I believed that there was a possibility that it could, and I had the faith to step out, even with a professional telling me that I couldn't really expect it. I decided that that didn't work for me. I wanted to have a whole heart, and so I went about doing that. And mentors was probably, I would say, my number one reason, or the number one way that I was able to overcome that. And again, just that daily meditation, and I give God a lot of 100% of the credit for my healing. But I do believe that my mindset, getting my mindset and me doing the work, is what actually, working in tandem with God, is what accomplished that. And these principles that I talk about in my book, like I said before, the principles work in all areas. I just apply them to entrepreneurship, but it really is all the same. It's all truth.
Awesome. So I want to go back and touch on something that we just touched on briefly at the beginning here of the radio show. Obviously, you work as a private mentor with entrepreneurs. You're very powerful as a resource here within Strongbrook's Mastermind program right now. And a lot of what you've been able to do is to help countless entrepreneurs discover a way to relate what their passion is and wrap it around a business, wrap a business around it. Talk to us a little bit about the secret to discovering discovering the appropriate ways or different ways in which you can monetize your gifts and your passions?
Well, within Strongbrook and within this mastermind, it's been a real blessing for me. It's really awesome to be able to incorporate the principles that I'm in my book into actual reality and sharing those with people on a real-time basis. So that's been really awesome. What I've been able to do with them, I just do a half-hour strategy session. I mean, it's just really quick. That's why I feel like it's just something that I'm maybe gifted with, because a lot of them have been seeking and searching for a way to find purpose in what they're doing for sometimes decades or years or months, and haven't been able to discover that. And I think it really takes sometimes another point of view, somebody outside. And so I think it would be good to, again, gather a mentor, somebody that can have that other perspective. But the one thing that I've noticed that is almost 100% with everybody that I've ever worked with is that as we begin talking, they will express that there's something about themselves that they don't like. There's something that they feel is like a weakness, something that they would like to overcome. And as soon as I hear that, I love it when I hear that, because to me that is the huge spotlight on their gift. It's exactly what their strength is, but they're just looking at it from a different perspective. And so, if somebody tells me that they are that they talk too much, and that they wish that they could be more, a better listener or something like that, then I can really zone in on that. And I think, okay, this person sees that as a weakness, but actually there's something about what they do. Maybe they're a really great communicator, and they just haven't received the, maybe when they were a kid, they got reprimanded for talking too much or something like that, so they've kind of seen it as something that they're going to get in trouble for. But whatever comes really easily and naturally is usually what the strength is. But a lot of times, I would say probably 90% of the time when I talk to people, they see it as a weakness. So that would be, one thing is, number one, get an outsider's perspective. And then number two would be, what do you see in yourself that's a weakness that you wish you could change? And if you could just turn around, I talk about looking through a two-way mirror. If you can walk around to the back side of the mirror so that you can actually see through it, you could actually see yourself from a different perspective and see that that is really your strength.
So, wow. I think anytime that we can step outside of ourselves and view our situation from a different set of eyes. I mean, this is one of the great things about having business partners sometimes, or a significant other or spouse who is willing to step up like that for you, is that it truly can be a powerful experience. And sometimes it can give us a perspective that we can't see our on our own, because we're blind to it, or who knows. So once you get that perspective, or once you see that, how do you go from finally recognizing maybe what some of your gifts are to putting that into, or to monetizing that? How do you kind of make that leap?
For most of the people that I work with, we'll just kind of do a little brainstorming session. So I don't know if I can really answer that question 100%, because that it's the same for everybody. I don't think I can, because we will just do a little brainstorming session, and I'll just ask them questions, like who they like to work with. Some people like to work with kids, some people like to work with adults, some people like to work with women. And I'll ask them, just several questions, and usually we'll be able to hone in on the way that they like to serve people. What serves them, and maybe I'll just elaborate on that a little bit, because this is something that I discovered. I didn't really realize that there was a proper way to serve people, that for every individual person has like a certain way to serve people that is I'm going to call it charity. There's a lot of things that we can do to serve people. I could make a meal for someone, and that would be serving them, and or I could comfort a child, and that would be serving them. And so there's a lot of ways that I can serve people. But what I've really discovered just in the last couple of months anyway, even, is that there is a way that I can serve that also feeds me. And so it's not just about serving, it's finding the way that you can serve people that also reciprocates and that feeds you. And this is how that internal energy just never depletes. When you can tap into that, when you can find that passion, the way that you serve, that it feeds you, then you have a never-ending source of energy. And I'll share with you how I discovered this was with the GPS and the ankle monitor guys that I work with every Monday night. I go to that class. I teach this Prime for Life class, and there's about 50 or 60 parolees that come in. They're court ordered to attend. Most of the time when they come in the first time, they don't want to be there. They wish they could be anywhere but there because they're court ordered to be there. But we have a really good energy there in the class, and we talk about these types of principles, about moving forward and about breaking through your beliefs and finding your passion and those kinds of things. And by the time they leave, I have guys that will come up and say, you know what, I really wish I could continue coming to your class. And once they're off the program, once they're out of jail, they can't come anymore. And I feel bad, that they can't come. And a lot of them come and tell me that they really wish they could be there. And when I discovered, when I was, pondering this idea of service, I realized that when I come home from that class, I will sit and talk with these guys after the class. Sometimes I'll talk one-on-one with somebody, or every once in a while we'll do open mic night, and they could come up and share some of their stories. And I just am fed by what they share with me. And I'm in awe, and I'm so respectful of what their lives have been, and their freedom has been taken away in some respects, but we as people just walking around the world take our own freedom away by not stepping out and doing the things that we could do, not taking that leap out of the limit zone. And so when I come home from that class, I just am so uplifted and filled, and I feel so awesome. I just love working with these guys. And so when I work with them, this feeds me. It energizes me. And the same with working with within Strongbrook with the Mastermind group, helping them kickstart their businesses. I could do that 24 hours a day. I just am fed every time I talk with them. So finding the place where when you serve, you're being served back and double. You're getting double the helpings that you're even giving out. That is where you're going to find your place, where you're going to be able to monetize your gifts.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I know I put you on the spot there a little bit, but man, I love the information that you gave to us and our listeners, and that's again something that we can take and implement right away. Well, we're winding down here, but I want to cover a couple more things before we end the program today. First of all, how can people connect further with you inside the Mentoring Network?
Thank you. I have a program that I'm getting ready to submit to the, hopefully by the time the radio show airs, it will actually be on the network. And I have a couple of things that I'm working on. One of them is a video mentoring program called 44 Days to Immovable Momentum. And that is based on my book. And so that will be within the network. And also I have a series of audios where I teach a principle of belief breakthrough, and then we practice it. Someone volunteers to be my person that we practice the principle with, and we do a belief breakthrough right there on the call. So these are some conference calls that I did with my team, and so they're audios. You can listen to them while you're at the gym or while you're putting on your makeup in the morning or whatever, to get those principles down and actually see how they are put into place. So those are a couple things that I have in store for the Mentoring Network.
Awesome. Yeah, we're so glad to get those and excited to put those up and make those available for everybody. And then you also had a special offer. Go ahead and talk about your special offer.
Yeah, and actually, Stephen, I don't have that right in front of me, so maybe you can
I can talk about your special offer. I'd be happy to.
Because I can't remember what I told you.
Not a problem. So you got an opportunity for individuals here listening to the radio show to pre-order your book, and you can do so by connecting with Wylene Benson on her website. Go to www.wylenebenson.com. Again, you can connect with her through the Mentoring Network and listen to the audio programs and different things that she's putting up on the network. But in addition, if you want to pre-order her book, you can connect with her by going to www.wylenebenson.com. Just make sure that you mention the radio show, and you'll receive a companion workbook and journal to Entrepreneur Ignition for free, along with a complimentary invitation to attend the 44 Days to Immovable Momentum live seminar, where the video mentoring course will be created. So you'll be able to do that as Wylene's special guest. So did I get that right, Wylene?
That sounds great. I'll honor that.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Well, hey, I appreciate that. Are there any final words that you'd like to say to our listeners?
I do want to just give one little plug for the Limitless program, because over the last 3 years since I've been involved in Strongbrook, we've had some kind of beta programs, Conscious Creator Network and a Mastermind mentoring program, and I've participated in all of those beta programs that were leading up to Limitless, and I now help to facilitate those Limitless 3-day seminars, and you also can have the opportunity to work with me privately as a mentor through the Limitless program. And so I would encourage anybody who is seeking for opportunities to be able to take that leap of faith outside of their limit zone, and whether it be to start an entrepreneur business, start a business as an entrepreneur, or whether it be just to leap out, in any direction because whatever you're doing is just not working, to at least attend Limitless once, because that is, I would say, far and away a way that you can really compress years of study and work and, everything on your own, to be able to really speed up the process of, achieving your wildest vision of your perfect life.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Again, everyone, this has been Stephen Michael Miller with Strongbrook Radio, here with Wylene Benson. Wylene Benson is just an amazing individual, a personal alignment and business coach. It's been a phenomenal program. If you're jumping on late, or if you're catching this as you're driving home, so glad that you were able to get this and listen, and hopefully you were able to take some notes as well as the things that you can do to implement into your lives right away and start seeing different and better results. So Wylene, thank you so much for being with us. And with that, everyone, have a fantastic week. Make sure that you're sharing this program and all of our other programs with those that you love. It is free on the Strongbrook app. All they have to do is go on to Google Play or go onto the App Store, type in Strongbrook, and make sure that you give them your invitation code so they can download and get this information for free. It's great information. We're talking to some of the world's greatest minds, thought leaders, who are here to help us. So take advantage of this. So glad that you're with us this week. Again, this is Stephen Michael Miller with Strongbrook Radio. Have a wonderful week. Bye-bye.